Okay. Are you seeing just a slide? Can I get a thumbs up? I'm seeing a nod. Excellent. Okay. Hello. I'm Jay. I'm codependent. I'm thrilled to be here. This workshop is called Aware Enough, Developing Increased Awareness in the 12 Steps via Feelings. And so let's get started. So what is aware enough? And let's talk about that in terms of program. To me, what's aware enough before I come into program is about step 0. Something is wrong, I need help. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to a meeting. And for me, before program, I went to a meeting and found out that I could get help. And that was fantastic. So then I started doing the steps. And in step 1, I became aware that there are a lot of things that I don't like and that I'm powerless over. And I explored that. And then I moved on. I got to step 2. I could give this stuff to my higher power. And I had to figure out, a higher power that I could give this stuff to. And then I moved to step 3. And I realized I'm not a bad person for having done all this. My awareness got bigger. I'm sorry, this is step 5. Step 6, I recognized what my patterns were, my personal patterns. Could be some or all of the patterns and characteristics of codependence. Then I moved on to step 8 and 9, and I had a new awareness that in my past, I was doing the best I could with the tools I have, and today I have new tools. Very exciting. Step 10, oops, I did it again. Yeah, apparently just being aware sometimes isn't quite enough, but being aware that I did it again is very important. And once I know that, I can clean that up as close to immediately as I can handle. Then I moved on to step 11, and I started my meditation, and I got to experience the pattern of my thoughts coming up and recognizing that I don't have to immediately do anything. I can observe that impulse or whatever it might be and let it go before I do anything with it or about it. And in step 12, I realized I can't hold on to all this awareness unless I give it away. So it's pretty incredible stuff. Eventually, having worked the program several times, I come to the awareness that there's so much more to be aware of. I keep getting to discover new things about me. And what a great adventure, because I get to, go deeper. And so I realize that awareness is an evolving process. And apparently, if I keep coming back, it works for me if I work it. And I'm definitely worth it. And the same is true for all of us. All right, so are there any questions so far? No? Okay, well, great, the end. This has been a great workshop. I really appreciate you. Unless, if recovery is an evolving process, then there's always more, right? Do you want some more? Of course you do. I want more. So let's talk about more. Let's embark on a journey together. And with any journey, we quickly realize that we need to pack because we got to have some things with us. And we're all bringing a lot of stuff. I'm bringing a lot of stuff. Chances are you're bringing a lot of stuff too. For example, all this stuff. Childhood traumas, family secrets, true and false lessons, misunderstood lessons, cultural expectations, religious and spiritual beliefs, a crisp photorealistic projector, which we use to project our stuff onto other people, all sorts of stuff, and so much more. And that's a lot of stuff. Part of this program is starting to let go of some of these things. But today I was thinking that I'd give you a few more things. These are things that other people have given to me. This is not necessarily original stuff, but I want to give it back. So perhaps you've played The Legend of Zelda, and you've come across the old man who gives you something because it is dangerous to go along. It's dangerous to go alone. And he gives us a sword. And you know, that's kind of how my childhood was. I figured out that, why is my clicky not working? Is that, there we go. My old response to danger was fighting. Sometimes it's fighting directly with fisticuffs, but a lot of the time it was passive resistance. It was leaving the situation mentally or running away, that sort of thing. And fighting the reality of my situation, I thought it would keep me safe. But the truth is that fighting was not keeping me safe. That fighting was actually keeping me out of it. And unfortunately, it was what I was taught by my culture, by my family, and it ended up being a burden, which I learned a lot about in Coda. And so ultimately, I got to put down the sword. So what do I do? What do I take with me on this journey? And the answer is, I take a friend. Ultimately, what I need to do is go find a sponsor and a co-sponsor and a step study group and some recovery buddies and some inspirational people, maybe some role models, real and fictional. One of mine is Samwise Gamgee. This is the true gift of program, the other people we go on this journey with. So I want to make sure that I advocate for this, what I consider most important gift of recovery. And I hope that you all, if you have these people, take a moment at some point over the next week to express some gratitude for them. I got to express gratitude to my sponsor earlier when I was freaking out about giving this workshop. So there is that. And if you don't have a sponsor or a co-sponsor or step study group, consider finding one, because ultimately that is where it's at, or where it has been for me at least. Now, second tool. Do you use a feelings wheel or something like it? A list of feelings? My goodness. My entire adolescence, I would get home from school and my mom would ask, how was my day? And my answer would be, good. The end of conversation, up to my room, isolation. But ultimately, the downside of that was I didn't spend a lot of time identifying my feelings, nor did I come up with words to express those feelings. So I like the feelings wheel. Now, this is a very specific feelings wheel, and I'm going to highly recommend this feelings wheel. I'm going to talk about why. This comes from a nonviolent communication organization who I will not name because of traditions, but it is fairly findable on the internet. Here are some links in case you like this version. And what I like about it is instead of labeling some of my emotions as good and some of my emotions as bad, it instead talks about what emotions I might have when my needs are not being met, and what emotions I might be having when my needs are being met. And I think that's a big and important difference, because my new understanding, my new awareness is that all of my feelings are good because they're giving me important information about what's going on inside of me. But while I'm trying to figure out what language I want to use to describe it, a feelings wheel can help me with that. Specifically, I'm going to suggest, the detailed version of this feelings wheel. I have one printed out and pasted into my journal on the very inside front cover so that I always can find it instantly when I need to figure out how I'm feeling. This section at the bottom of the detailed version gives me a list of words that are not, in fact, emotions, but are thoughts and judgments. It says here, evaluations and judgments of others. You might add evaluation and judgments of God, myself, and others. And it includes words like, I feel attacked. Well, attacked implies an attacker. So this is not a feeling inside me. This is a thing that I think is happening to me. What feeling is coming out of that? Great question. Let's go back to the wheel. Now, let's talk real quick about this wheel. Over here, I've got afraid. Maybe I'm feeling afraid. And across the wheel is trusting. This wheel is asserting that trust is the opposite of afraid. And if I go deeper, scared is the opposite of assured. As you can see, we're going straight across through the center to find the opposite. And so vulnerable, anxious, insecure, they all have the opposites listed here, which is fantastic. Here's how I discovered this wheel. Here's how I first used it. Someone asked me how I was feeling, and I looked at the wheel, and I looked at myself, and overwhelmed was the word that came up. My goodness, I am so overwhelmed. And so I looked at the more detailed version. It said, okay, some forms of overwhelmed are confused and puzzled. And was that true for me? And I realized it really kind of wasn't. So I looked across the wheel at absorbed and engrossed, and I realized, ooh, you know what? I am feeling absorbed and I am feeling engrossed in what's going on. Why is that happening? And so really what's going on is I'm engaged. But I also, overwhelmed came up. So what's going on there? Ultimately, what I discovered was, you know what? I'm really enjoying the stuff that I'm doing, but I've made up this story in my head that I have to get it done real fast. And it was that timeline that I had imposed upon myself that was making me feel overwhelmed. I was doing this feeling to myself. I was creating this feeling, and I could let go of it. How? Well, quite frankly, I could turn the time frame over to my higher power, and I could rest in my absorbedness and my engrossedness and take all the time that I need, because there's plenty, according to some affirmations that I've seen. All right, a third tool. Perhaps you've heard about fight or flight. Other people have extended it. There's fight, there's fawn, there's flee, there's freeze, all these things. And for what we're doing today, this is going to be very important. Let's talk about fight, fawn, flee. What happened? Where's my slide? There we go. Oh my goodness, it's a threat. Oh no, something is happening in the outside world. Oh my gosh, maybe it's a bear. Oh, yeah, I didn't want to scare you too much with an actual picture of a bear, so let's just pretend there's a scary bear. All right, so what do I do about the bear? Well, what I could try is to overpower it. All right, well, I don't know that that's going to work, because it's a bear and I'm a person. So that's not going to work. Let's try negotiating with it. Hello, bear, would you please not attack? Oh, it doesn't speak English. All right, well, let's try, can I outrun it? Maybe, but it seems risky, and I have very low endurance, and I don't know about that. All right, I could just stay real still and hope that it just goes away. All right, now, sometimes these things can work. Maybe I'm very strong and I can overpower the bear, so I can choose to fight the bear. Or if I don't think I can do that and I think I can negotiate, then I can fawn. Oh, great bear, please do not attack me. Let me give you this offering, etc. Maybe I can make friends. Here, bear, have some delicious berries instead of my face to eat. And then I heard it read that there's another option which starts with F. I'm going to leave that alone and just use the word seduce. I'm not going to seduce a bear, though. For outrun, if I think I can outrun, that's flee, and freeze is freeze. Now, let's have a quick talk. I have a personal theory here. I'm kind of excited about this personal theory, but I want to make sure that everybody understands that this is personal theory. This is not CODA approved. In fact, I just thought of this yesterday. So if this doesn't work for you, take what you like and leave the rest. But it occurred to me looking at these four things that if you think about it, they might look familiar. Because for codependency, my threat is rarely a bear. For codependency, my big threat is I'm afraid people are going to abandon me. So what does overpowering look like with abandonment? Well, quite frankly, I'm going to try and control the other person. I'm going to fight their decision. And if that doesn't work, I'll negotiate. Maybe I'll comply. I'll tell them that I'll do whatever they want me to do. Just please don't leave. But maybe that doesn't work long term. Maybe I can flee by denying that there even is a problem. Maybe I can freeze up and just avoid the whole thing. Hopefully these are looking a little bit familiar to you. We have a list of patterns and characteristics of codependency, and there are 5 categories. This is 4 of them. And if we zoom out from that just a little bit, and we think of this as past history, because I have a long history of doing all these things, I get low, wait, they're supposed to be, oh no. Anyway, let's pretend there's a blue line right here, which is totally on my slides, but not loading for some reason. When I think about all the times I've tried to do all this stuff, not just fight and fawn and flee and freeze, but also control and comply and deny and avoid, none of that stuff worked. And I get low self-esteem because, you know, there must be something wrong with me. This stuff seems to work for other people. Or maybe people tell me when I do these things that I'm bad for having done them, and that leads to low self-esteem. And so that's my history telling me that I'm not enough. So my past history is all the times these things worked or didn't work. My past history is the stories that I'm telling myself. My past history is me projecting my past onto my future expectations. And now I'm looking at, there it is. See, I knew that blue line was there somewhere. This is all thought. This is all going on in my head. All these things are ideas that I'm having on how to solve this. All this stuff is my opinion about myself. All this is my memory, and I'm projecting it onto my future. And here's me. And the truth of the matter is there's no past, there's no future, there's only now. So if there's only now, what do I have available to me? How can I get out of this? That didn't work. Let's, wait, something happened. There we go. So that brings us to tool number 4, or 3.5 kind of. Where do I check to see what's going on in me? Well, I go back here. And one place I can look is the sensations in my body. Right now, I'm experiencing a little bit of nervousness because, you know, talking to big groups of people, even if you all exist only on my screen, is a little bit nerve-wracking for me. I'm feeling that right here in my shoulder, my neck, because I'm tense there. I'm feeling that here in my belly because it's very tense there. I've got feelings, aka emotions. I've also got thoughts happening in my mind. And of course, I have my judgment about what's going on. Some people might call that an ego. That's up to you. This is not the way to identify these things. These are my way. Take what you like and leave the rest. Now, how can I get at my sensations? Well, I can look into my sensations with a handy dandy guide. Hopefully I put this slide in as the next slide. Let's find out. I did not. All right, so we'll come back to that. For my feelings, I've got the feelings wheel, as we talked about, and the extended version has that little bit that talks about which of my feelings are actually judgments. So that could be useful as well. Here is that slide that I thought would be next. These are some words that can describe the feelings that I might be feeling in my body. Now, there are hundreds of more words, and they're kind of categorized. These categories aren't, gospel. But I might feel a prickling sensation, or I might feel rigid. I might notice that my body is slunched over. Is slunched a word, I wonder? Slouched? Anyway, not important. Once I've got these things, I also get to figure out, where is this happening in my body? Now, I borrowed this image from a study which hooked up a bunch of fancy computers to people at different ages and induced different feelings in them and measured where those feelings were happening. And it turns out that where the feelings are happening over time, as we age, slightly change, but it's similar. And so this is not the important part. The important part is maybe I'm feeling my fear in different parts of the body at different times. And of course, everybody is different. And also every body is different. So wherever you feel whatever emotion is probably the right place for you. These two things together, my word and where it's happening, can give me a lot of information and can help me in the future identify, hey, I'm feeling this feeling. I've come to identify this with fear. Am I afraid? Oh my gosh, I am. What? Why would I need to do it in that direction? I have gone most of my life practicing denial of my own feelings. I started at a very young age. And so I often am out of touch with my feelings. So maybe I feel something, some sensation in my body. I can check to see, is this coming from an emotion or related to an emotion? Hi, I'm Jay, I'm codependent. So I've been throwing a lot of tools at you, but let's talk, about experience, strength, and hope. I journaled quite a bit for this workshop because I was looking for the most excellent experience to use as the fodder for my share to use this tool that we're going to talk about today. And, I had some good stuff, but it was feeling kind of meh. This is okay, but I wish there was something better. And my goodness, God provides. When I wish there's something better, God's going to provide that thing. And my goodness, it was not pleasant when it happened. Because of course, something better for experience, strength, and hope is something that feels like a threat. So, the thing happened. The thing happened on Wednesday, just this past. And the thing that happened was I received a phone call. One of the most terrifying things for me as a codependent. I got a phone call from an authority figure. I was afraid of what that authority figure wanted. I didn't want to talk to that authority figure, so I let it go to voicemail. Because, come on, what could they possibly want? But then I listened to the message. Apparently, somebody sent me an email and would like a response. Apparently, they sent it 2 days ago. Gosh, I think to myself, I must have missed the email. Did I blank out? Oh my gosh, am I that avoidant? I must have blanked out. What other explanation could there possibly be? I resent this authority for emailing, for wanting to communicate at all. The thing they're calling about is probably bad. Wait a minute. Did I just eat an entire bag of cookies? God damn it, what is wrong with me? Yeah, it was terrible. And ultimately, it ended in shame. And there are so many examples in my experience of me taking actions that led me to being upset at myself, feeling shame. And ultimately, that's one of the patterns that I want to learn to reprogram. So all I have to do is apply all these tools. Isn't that amazing? Just a couple of tools, absolutely no problem. Whoa, that is quite a bit of stuff. Now, I used those tools and I got a lot more information. So much more information, it ran off the bottom of my slide. I got a phone call from an authority figure and I felt nervous. What did that feel like as a sensation? It was a sinking feeling that moved from my mid-chest above the stomach and went lower to below my stomach into my belly. Unfortunately, I got to get taller for that. Right down, right down here. All right. Now, I let it go to voicemail. What could they want? I listened to the message. They sent it 2 days ago. Did I blank out? I mean, wait a minute. I checked my email yesterday and this morning. So I could have missed the email. Did I blank it out? Am I that avoidant? Oh, you know what? I realize I'm feeling some hatred for myself. I resent that authority. The feeling that I'm having moves up into my throat. My upper and lower back tenses up. And over time, the feeling moves down through my shoulders and down the backs of my arms. I don't like this feeling in my belly, so I go to the refrigerator. I want something comforting, and I want it fast. But there's nothing in the fridge. But you know what? Sweets would be good. Sweets can be had right now. And I've got some sweets in the cabinet. Or at least I did, because now the sweets are gone. Did I just eat an entire bag of cookies? It appears that I have. Within 10 minutes, now my belly starts to hurt. I've overeaten again, and these are the consequences. And I feel shameful for having eaten the entire bag of cookies. And I also feel shameful for having eaten an entire bag of cookies again, because I've done this in the past. Don't I know better yet? My goodness, I'm presenting a workshop. Shouldn't I be beyond eating a bag of cookies? My goodness. Also, I'm cold, especially my hands and feet and my lower arms facing away from my torso. So right here, I've got a little shiver, but my brain feels hot. Whoops. Oh my gosh. There, nope, back. Okay. No touchy. How can I escape all of this? Should I quit? I could quit my job. I could quit this relationship. I could quit whatever. But then how would I support myself without whatever this is? Now I'm afraid and I feel that, and on and on and on. The more of these things I have to reference, the more aware I can be, and maybe at some point I can avoid the sweets. And so there's this other tool that I found in another program. It's called the 3 columns tool. There is way too much happening on my screen right now, so I have to move some things. Great. Now, this is a great tool and served me very well in that program because it helped me be aware of the things I didn't want to do anymore. Why don't I want to do these things anymore? Because they lead me to feelings of demoralization. This could be thoughts and behaviors that get me to isolate myself or trap me in fantasy, or maybe it's situations that I feel stuck in, like, oh, here I am again. There's nothing I can do about it. I know how this ends before I begin, so I'm just going to go into it again because there's no other way out, etc., and so on. And then there's a middle circle. In the middle circle is behaviors which, if not addressed, will eventually lead me into this situation. So if I can jump in right here and stop myself from going over here, that would be great. And what do I do? Well, there's this third column, the outer circle. These are things that bring recovery and are to be encouraged. Healthy behaviors that I use that take me from the middle circle away from my inner circle. So I think here is the place to pause. So I'm going to make this go away from sharing. We're all going to, oh, there are your faces. Hello, faces. Oh, it's so great. Right now, we have approximately 10 minutes until the intermission. And I hope that you have a journal or a piece of paper or writing implement, well, and a writing implement, because what I was hoping that you might be willing to do is take 5 to 10 minutes to think about a situation that is in your inner circle, something that you find yourself in from time to time that leads you to feelings of demoralization, that make you feel shameful. For me, perhaps it's eating an entire bag of cookies, but there are so many other things. Getting into yet another relationship that has the same patterns, or agreeing to go to Thanksgiving dinner, even though I don't want to. There are all sorts of examples. We're going to journal about that. Then we're going to have a little break to get up and sort of shake out all that stuff that might come up in our bodies. And then after the break, we're going to have a little bit of time to talk in small groups about applying these tools and that sort of thing. Thumbs up if this is acceptable. Oh, I love those thumbs. Excellent. Thank you so much, thumbs. All right. If there are questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. And if I could get one of the official people to set a timer, let's say set a timer for 7 minutes so that we can give them a 1-minute warning. Cool, thank you. My clock says it's time for intermission. Okay. I think I'm ready to continue. Is anybody else ready to continue? All right. I am putting into the chat right now a link to a public slideshow. It looks a lot like this. It is only 4 slides because the slideshow I've been presenting to you is well over 100 slides. I didn't want you to get lost. It has the 12-step awarenesses, links to the 2 versions of the feelings wheel. It's got an overview of the different tools. It's got the locations and descriptions of the feelings. You, if you like, can open this, whether you have Google or not. If you do have Google, you can hit File and hit Make a Copy of this entire presentation, and it will live in your Google Drive so that you can access it whenever you want. In addition, I am putting into the chat, I think, yes, a link to this handout. Now, again, if you have Google Drive, you can file, make a copy, and write directly in it. If you don't, you can do all this on a regular piece of paper. There's absolutely no problem. All right, let's talk a little bit about this sheet. Expanding and untangling towards awareness handout. Now, I did not do this intentionally, but if we have any friends here today from Utah, I have accidentally created a workshop whose acronym is E-Utah. So I'm sorry / you're welcome, Utah. I would like you today to look at your journaling and find the threat. What was the thing that was threatening you? This can be opinion, this can be, it's your own feelings, therefore a threat is a threat. And then think about what are the facts. And then list some sensations, some feelings, some thoughts, some judgments. Think about some similar moments and events from your history. Wow, this is a lot like when my dad showed up immediately and said, hey, if you don't do what I say, you're going to be in big trouble. And maybe I'm thinking that this authority figure who's calling me on the phone is my dad or something. And then this is my most favorite part. I don't know if you'll enjoy it. Think about the most pessimistic future, like make it real grim, right? My boss is calling me to invite me to work, and we're going to have a big whole company meeting, and then I'm going to be fired in front of everybody. It's going to be the worst. But then also do an optimistic future. What's the best possible thing that this call could be about, et cetera, and so on. Yes? Now, this order is completely arbitrary. For me, I added on to what I had already written, all these things, especially these 4 items, the sensation body, the feeling emotion, the thought mind, the judgment ego, because as I thought about those things, it brought more information out. In fact, I experienced a sensation that I remembered feeling in another situation, which otherwise I would not have felt was related to the situation, but suddenly I realized there's a connection. Hopefully all of that makes sense. This is a reciprocal process, and you might go back and forth between all the different parts of this sheet. Now, I'm also going to invite you to join a breakout room. And as a breakout room, you'll be in a small group. And as a group, you can decide, let's spend some time working on our own. Or does anybody have any questions? Or, you know, that sort of thing. You can be sort of a little step study group or a co-sponsorship circle. And maybe even get to know each other. Maybe make a friend. In breakout rooms, I believe somewhere, I think it's in the reactions menu, there is a button that says something along the lines of ask for help. If there's something you need a question answered or whatever, hey, where was that thing? Feel free to press that button. And I think all of the people who are co-hosts will get that message. And we, they can help you to the best of our ability. Okay, well, let's do this breakout room thing. How long are we going to be in the breakout room, Jay? That's a fantastic question. Thank you so much for asking. I was going to say an entire 20 minutes. That way, if you want to work on your own and then share as a group, you can do that. If you want to spend all that time sharing as a group, feel free to do that as well. The group conscience of your group is the authority here, as long as it touches with a higher power. Here we go. Welcome back, everybody. We're going to take about 10 minutes. During this time, if you have anything that you would like to ask questions about or clarify, any epiphanies you've had that you'd like to share with the entire group, anything that you or someone else brought up that really touched you and you'd like to share about, any of these things, of course, preserving anonymity where possible, are welcome. Thank you. The ability to answer that question in the time available is limited, to say the most. The very, very short version is every codependent has a different idea of what the roots are. My personal opinion is my problem is one of powerlessness and judgment, especially of myself. There are a lot of things that I've told myself I can't do that I could, and there are a lot of things that I told myself I could do that I couldn't. And untangling those things is one of the primary things that I work with my sponsor on. Where am I powerless, and where can I take action to better my life? I hope this very limited response is in some way helpful, and I'll put some contact information in the chat towards the end. Thank you for your question. So we've been talking about the problem. The question now is, okay, so what's the solution? And Iris, you hit the nail on the head, so to speak. Unfortunately, I don't personally know a tool that will stop me from going into the disconnect every single time. I'm very sorry. My goal, of course, is progress, not perfection. And so for me, the question is, how quickly can I notice I'm in the disconnect, right? Before program, it could have been weeks, even months at a time. During program, sometimes it's a couple of days, but often it's a matter of minutes. Maybe if it's an hour, if there's nobody else in my house and I don't make a reach out call. And you know, there's plenty of things to watch on the internet. So the question is, okay, I finally noticed, or I just noticed that I'm in this thing. I'm on this, you know, middle circle maybe. What do I do now? So let's go back to the presentation. All right, so here we were. We've got our inner circle, our middle circle, our outer circle. Now, this was designed for another program. This was not designed for this program. And we can make a few tweaks. I have made a few tweaks, which I invite you to also consider whether you would like to adopt. First of all, I have added a triggers column as a fourth column. Now, to keep this legible, I put it up here, but you can make your own columns. The triggers are the external stimula, that's the plural of stimulus, that begin a cycle we've identified, and we wish to use our new tools instead of going in this direction. Okay. I also have changed this title to no-go boundaries, because in CODA, we talk a lot about boundaries. Hey, I no longer want to end up in these situations, so I'm going to make some boundaries. This is the thing that I've done, the compulsion. This is the boundary I want to set. I will not reach for the cookies. And if I do, I will put down the cookies as soon as I've noticed that I'm, you know, stuffing them into my face. I call the middle circle the slide, like a, you know, playground slide, because I often have to climb up to the top of it and then get started, and it's, you know, downhill from there. But I can stop myself. It's not a very steep slide sometimes. And over here, the outer circle, really what we're talking about here is what are the tools. Now, someone asked about the tools. I could give a generalized list of tools that will totally work for a lot of situations. Pray, meditate, call my sponsor, call me reach out buddies, journal. If I didn't say meditate yet, meditate. And if I did, do it again. You know, write an FU letter, write about all sorts of things, etc. and so on. So many tools, I'm blanking out, and I'm also freaking out about how much time I have left. Additionally, recognize that my trigger brings me into a decision point right here. I can go down the slide, but if I can catch this early, before I have acted, then I can go toward tools. Even if I've taken one action, if there's one thing I've learned from this work, it's that one thing leads to another thing leads to another. So it's even less of a slide, it's more of setting up dominoes. One domino knocks down another domino, which knocks down another domino, which then brings me to cookies. So if you don't want to call it the slide, you could call it the dominoes. There's all sorts of things. And we're totally not talking about pizza. Now, if we look at that space, this is that arrow. This space between the action choices is the space where recovery is found. I get to take all the time I need because there is plenty. Perhaps you've heard that affirmation. Higher power is there waiting for me. And so are my recovery friends, my meetings, the literature, etc. There's so many things. Every time I get a phone call, I can let it go to voicemail. It turns out that may have been a healthy behavior on my part. Who knows? The fact is I didn't pick it up, and that fact gave me more time. Additionally, I get to ask for more time. Even if I do pick up the phone, even if they say, oh my gosh, there's an emergency, you have to do this thing immediately. No, I really don't. If it has to be done immediately, you can ask me to do it, but you can also ask someone else. I may choose not to make a decision until I am ready. Anyone who tries to remove that choice from me does not have my best interests at heart. Because all the decisions that have to be made immediately, those things get taken care of before I'm really conscious of them. For example, I'm driving a little too fast on the freeway. I look down to change the music at just the wrong moment. And then when I look back up, the car in front of me is way closer than I thought it was, and its brake lights are on. It turns out my leg has hit the gas and my arms have moved the steering wheel to get me out of the way faster than I can think. So if I have time to think, I have time to wait and think, interestingly enough. I get to be responsible. I get to explore my true self so that I can share my true self. And sometimes sharing my true self means saying no to stuff I don't want to do. Now, there is so much more I want to talk to you about, but we are rapidly running out of time. So we're calling this the end, for realsies this time. I really appreciate this opportunity to spend some time with you. I hope that you've gotten at least one thing. And I want to extend a great amount of gratitude, both to those who are of service to this group for making sure that there are speakers and workshops every week, and also to all of you for attending, because if you hadn't have shown up, I'd have been here talking basically to myself. So thanks for being here.